You mean that a federal judge has intervened with the other two branches' ability to make policy? I'm shocked. That hasn't happened since yesterday. I think it's pretty clear that the president has tariff authority. Congress gave it to him. Sooner or later, the Supreme Court is going to have to address this. Those who oppose the executive branch and those who oppose the legislative branch and are seeking recourse in the courts are at some point going to dig up more snakes than they can kill.
This trade negotiation season has been really, really effective for the American people, and it's unfortunate that people would attack it as the journalists did or the way the judges just did. You know, these activist judges are trying to slow down something right in the middle of really important negotiations. And the idea that the fentanyl crisis in America is not an emergency is so appalling to me that I'm sure that when we appeal, that this decision will be overturned.
Okay, that was Republican Senator John Kennedy and National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett on the Court of International Trade halting Trump's 30% tariffs on China, his 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and 10% on most goods coming to the U.S. But an appeals court whipsaw action reinstated Trump's tariffs during appeal for now. Joining us now for reaction, former presidential candidate and radio host Larry Elder. Larry, what do you make of the action here? And, Larry, it looks like this could end up in the Supreme Court. Have you ever seen anything like this?
Liz, all roads lead to the U.S. Supreme Court on virtually every single one of these issues. It seems to me that it ought to be relevant that the hysteria has calmed down. The stock market has now rebounded from Liberation Day. Donald Trump's approval rating, according to Rasmussen, has never been higher. Consumer confidence is high. It's not as if Donald Trump has dropped the neutron bomb on the economy and on the country. Most of his policies are popular. It just seems to me that John Kennedy is right, that the judges are inserting their authority over economic policy, trade policy, when in fact that's not their province.
You know, what's lost in all this, Larry, and you pointed it out. By the way, Goldman Sachs economists said they expect the Trump White House to find other legal options to do these tariffs. It's Section 122, 301, 338. It's too wonky and weedy for now. But what's happening is, what's lost in all this is how unfair America has been treated in the European Union, in Asia, and other nations overseas. That America has been getting hammered in unfair trade deals, and the president is trying to reset global policy on that.
Well, that's right. And Caroline Levitt, I thought, shrewdly pointed out in her press conference today, she quoted an editorial a few years ago from the New York Times talking about the trade deficit that we have. And they even said it was a threat to our national security, a threat to our economy. So even people on the left back in the day used to complain about this. But now it's Donald Trump, and Trump derangement syndrome has kicked in.
Yeah, so we've got VATs, we've got carbon taxes facing on goods overseas. We've got all sorts of sales taxes. We have trade quotas, certainly in Europe. We see, you know, intellectual property theft of American goods in China, for example. So when you see the president trying to do reciprocity, we've never seen anybody do this in such a optimistic way, including since Reagan. Do you think that he'll succeed? Do you think that he'll get past the courts and reset the table for global trade for America?
I do think he'll succeed. I think ultimately virtually everything that Donald Trump is doing will be vindicated by the Supreme Court. But more importantly, I think politically he's winning. The more power he has, the more pressure there will be on Congress not to stop him and to validate the things that he's doing. So as long as his numbers continue to go up, and I made a bold prediction on my show, Liz, I said that at some point in the not too distant future, this man's going to have a 60% approval rating once people realize the economy is doing well. People want to make sure that they're better off next year than they were last year. And I think Donald Trump is making people feel that way. So I think that ultimately, politically and legally, he's going to win.
Optimism is a force multiplier. Thank you, Larry Elder. Good to see you.
It is.